You're listening to IHC's podcast, Culture is Medicine.
Hi, this is Indian Health Center's podcast, Culture is Medicine, with...
My name's Areseña Equihua, and I am Yurok Indian, and I'm 19 years old. My pronouns are she, her.
And Marissa Hemstreet, your host today. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, Ari.
I'm 19 years old. I go to West Valley College, and I'm a film major.
Awesome. What's important to you?
There's a few things that are important to me, actually. I think art is super important to me, and my family is really important to me in school.
I love it. Love those values. And then what kinds of things have you done with the Indian Health Center?
Where do I begin? With the Indian Health Center, let's see. I started out, my mom used to get, she got, or she still gets assistance from Native TANF, and that's kind of how I got introduced to Indian Health Center. From what I can remember, like my earliest memories are just going to the clinic and, getting healthcare, and then eventually I got introduced to like youth group. I know my siblings, they used to go to like first five, like they had the first five like childcare thing, and my siblings used to go to that, and then I got slowly more like my foot in the door into IHC's like youth programs when I did the youth group, the youth group. And from then on, I kind of got more involved, and then I did youth workforce, and then I did youth media.
Awesome. What are the programs that you participated in? So we heard that you joined the youth media team.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I'll start with youth group because that's kind of how I kind of went up the ladder to youth media. I started in youth group. When I was in youth group, we did a lot of like cultural healing kind of stuff. We learned more about colonization. And we went on field trips. We went to like colleges and stuff like that, or we went to Alcatraz. And then we also, we did a lot of art stuff, and it was a lot of talking and a lot of socializing with other people like me, I guess. And it was really helpful because I feel like I was kind of lonely a lot as a child. And then eventually I got into workforce. Workforce was the program that IHC organizes to help youth kind of get introduced into adulthood, I would say. I wouldn't say that it's solely focused on like career paths, because it also teaches you a lot like about your credit score, and you learn a lot about how to talk to people, and you learn how to get ready for an interview, and how to like dress to impress, how to introduce yourself and like be proud of introducing yourself and be confident, and how to make a resume. And then I got into youth media, which is getting into present day, and youth media was something that I didn't know I needed at the time, but like really helped me. I was kind of going through a lot personally, just because it was after the pandemic, and then I was starting college. I graduated high school and stuff like that, and I kind of felt a little disconnected from my culture at the time, because I feel like I wasn't doing enough, or like I wasn't, doing enough to like, be connected to people anymore. I felt kind of disappointed in myself for kind of letting myself get a little, how would I say, maybe I kind of pushing away like things like that, because I've just been so, focused on my own stuff. But then I think Hera reached out to me, and he told me about youth media and that they were organizing a youth cohort, and I thought it was really cool. And it was part of art and, spreading kind of like the information about like community events and stuff like that on social media. So I was like, sign me up. I'm a film major, so I was looking for experience in like trying to, market things, or trying to like edit more, and trying to build something for my portfolio. So I thought youth media was like perfect. And then we met a lot online, so that was helpful for my school schedule at the time. And then I got to go to Michigan New Year, and then that's where I recorded like the interviews that have just been kind of shown of the North Maloney youth. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Do you have any memorable moments when you were participating in IHC's youth programs?
Oh yeah, there's so many memorable moments. In youth group particularly, I feel like that's where I started to get to know myself better in terms of like my cultural identity. When I was growing up, my mom would tell us like, yeah, you guys are Native American. And I at the time, I didn't know what that means, When you're young, you don't really realize like what that really means, I'm like, okay, like that's what I am, I guess. And like, you know, I kind of noticed it, like there was nobody else who would also be Native American that I would go to school with and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, like, I wonder why that is. And then, you know, I would learn about in history class and stuff like that. And, you know, that being kind of like how I first hear about myself wasn't the best. I was just kind of like, wow, so like, what am I now? Like, you know, colonization kind of destroyed a lot. And then what does that mean for us now? Like, what kind of hope is there? And then when I got into youth group, I got to learn a lot more and get a lot of exposure. I feel like I grew up really sheltered, you know, not really being in touch with who I am and not being able to experience a lot because, you know, my family, like, we've kind of been through a lot. So my mom tried to protect me as much as she can. So I didn't really get exposed to a lot of things or a lot of information. I kind of just like stayed at home a lot and like tried to help. So youth group really helped me get exposed to stuff. Like we would talk a lot about like I said, colonization, and then we watched The Canary Effect, which is like a famous documentary, you know, about colonization, and that had a huge impact on me because I'm like, wow, like, you know, it's sad and stuff, but then it's also enlightening to be able to share a space with other people and kind of realize that and kind of heal together. And some memories I have are really like bonding with people. Relationships are really important to me. I feel like the best way that I connect with things or that I process a lot is by connecting with people. And when like I have a really good connection with someone, like it really sticks with me. And there was a lot of staff at the time, like Michael, he kind of still works over there I don't know if he does youth group anymore, but he was kind of telling me that he still kind of does it. Just talking to them, getting to know them. And then at the time, like I would write a lot. I was in middle school and I'm a huge writer. I love writing and I want to be a novelist eventually. So they would kind of like read my stuff and then let me know like what they think. And like that was really cool because to have people like show interest in me, like meant a lot to me because sometimes I feel like it's easy to rely on your peers for like positive affirmation when I wasn't really like that. I was kind of like not sure where my place was, but you know, having that place to kind of look forward to and really kind of be myself, it was really nice. So that's kind of the memories that stick with me. And then workforce. It was really fun in workforce. I feel like we had a lot of good groups when I was there. You know, we had a good crowd of people, and it's always really really good to see at the beginning people be nervous, you know, worried about impressing each other, worried about what they say, being careful, and then at the end of the week it's like everyone bonds and, you know, no one wants to leave. So I really like seeing that development throughout activities like that. And for me, like, you know, I don't know, I feel like I'm an old soul, you know, like I like bonding with people, like really talking to them, you know. I'm not about like I'm not super like caught up with like a lot of things that people my age are trying to fix on. Like I don't like have TikTok or anything. I just really like talking to people, you know. That's the best way that I connect. So back then, you know, before the pandemic, which is jarring to even think about, but back then, it was just really nice to like talk to people and then get to know people, really bond with people. And that's kind of what stands out to me the most. I'm still friends with a lot of people that I met in workforce and a lot of people that I met in youth media, not in youth media, and youth group.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice to make those potentially lifelong connections. You know?
Yeah. And it sounds like you found like a place that you felt that you were welcome, that you belong. So I'm glad that IHC was kind of able to help foster that type of environment for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, hands down to the folks in our prevention services team, you know, Anasita, Mikey Andrews, and then I think Justina, Lily, the whole crew, even Cheyenne now. They're all super wonderful. And I think that they're really good because they have worked with the youth group for so long at, you know, making sure that, you know, they recall back on the days when they were youth. I'm not saying that they're older. But nobody get mad at me, please.
It's a respect, you know. Yeah. It's like you've experienced.
Yeah, and they're real sweet. And even when I was able to work with them in the capacity that I used to serve as fitness coordinator, you know, they were just letting us know that, you know, the group that we want to try to embody is, you know, welcoming, and we're going to try to approach these kids that join the group with respect. And you don't talk to them, you don't talk down to them, you know, you make them feel welcome and try not to like belittle them. It was really like, I like the way that they introduced us to working with the youth, and just it also felt like a family environment too.
Yeah, I was just about to say it felt like a family environment. You know, they're really good at connecting with youth. I feel like they're really good at that. You know, you don't feel forgotten. You know, you don't feel like left out or anything.
Yeah, and it was fun. And for the people who would like try to hide when we're doing like activities, they would, you know, playfully get them to come out. So it was really nice to get folks like out of their comfort zone. So that was nice to have witnessed, and you know, listening to you share your experience, just knowing that they're continuing that work. So you mentioned that IHC's youth media cohort. Can you tell us a little bit more about the specific program and that documentary that you made, the Mexica New Year and Cali Native documentary?
Yeah, so youth media, it was created at the beginning of the year, I believe, because we were trying to plan for events that were coming up, you know, powwows, and then the Mexica New Year was like one of the big ones because that's a huge celebration that happens. And we started out youth media on Zoom and stuff like that. I got introduced to Ari Recommends, who I met on Zoom at first, and it was just really cool. I was like, wow, finally I'm a part of something that you know, finally something artistic that I feel like I can, you know, try to grow with. And at first I wasn't sure of how much I would be able to, because I was I don't know, I have like this thing where I just feel like, I don't know, I try not to go in with like super high expectations, just because like, I don't know, I get a lot of like anxiety, you know, and it's really easy to get disappointed and stuff like that. So I wasn't sure what to expect, honestly. And it was nervous and like nerve-wracking for me. It was my first time really doing something outside of my comfort zone, like doing something artistic. Because, you know, I've done all these leadership things, I've got involved in like community events and stuff like that, but it was more of me being like an advocate for things. And I feel like that I'm way more comfortable in that, like talking about things and like kind of like connecting with people. But when it comes to expressing, you know, my art and stuff like that, like it scares me a lot more than it would be to give a speech, you know, like me giving a speech versus like showing my documentary. It's like giving the speech is the easy part. Showing my documentary, dude, I'm like sweating and shaking the whole time because I feel like it's super vulnerable for me. So I wasn't sure what to expect in youth media. And my first day at Mexica New Year, it was a little awkward for me, I feel like. I'm going to be honest, because something I'm getting to know, I do photography, and I've been doing event photography, and because there's a lot of good gigs that will pay for that. Like my school will pay me sometimes to be their event photographer. Something kind of awkward about event photography is that like you're no longer, which is also new for me, which is that you're not experiencing the event anymore. You're capturing it. And you have to kind of understand that, like, you know, you can't just be talking to people. You can't like just be like, you know, caught up in all that. You have to make sure that you're capturing this, because, you know, your responsibility is to make sure that everything's getting documented, because like they're making this happen, and you know, it's your job. And it can kind of feel like a lot. Your job is to make sure you capture the best parts of that, or the parts that reflect what this community is trying to communicate by having like this ceremony or the celebration that they're setting up. And your job is to make sure that it's captured well. So that's something I was really nervous about. And it was kind of awkward for me because, you know, I would walk around with my camera and I'm not really sure what to do. There was a lot of freedom and stuff like that. And, you know, I feel like I am better at people telling me what to do. And I don't know, I feel like I've been conditioned a lot to just, you know, be more comfortable with people telling me what to do rather than having like free reign. And that's, youth media gave me a lot of free reign to like kind of do whatever I wanted to do, basically. But, you know, Quetzali, she told us like, hey, let's interview the youth and like try to interview some vendors, and then we'll go off of that. And I'm like, okay, not really sure exactly what to do, but I can do that. Like, I know the assignment, but it was really neat for me to have free reign like that. And, you know, I kept like asking, I was like, hey, does this picture look good? Does this picture look good? It's so embarrassing, but I was just like really insecure about it. And she's like, if you feel like it looks good, like it looks good. Like, you know, be confident, it's your art and stuff like that. So youth media unexpectedly like helped me grow in a way that I wasn't really expecting it to, right? I was kind of going in expecting to just get experience, but I kind of feel like I grew a lot personally through working with youth media. I feel like even though I only worked on Mexica New Year, I didn't get to go to the powwows or anything because of school. and scheduling conflicts, but I went to Michigan New Year, and that experience alone like changed me a lot. And I started to become more confident in myself, you know, and like they were posting my pictures on the Instagram, the pictures I took at Michigan New Year, people setting up and like ceremony and stuff like that. And then I eventually ended up interviewing the youth. You know, we set up like there was like this room at Emma Push Park in the kitchen. I was like, man, where are we gonna interview this? Like, there's so much noise going on outside. I have no idea what we're going to do. And my biggest worry is sound, right? Sound is always the hardest to work with sometimes in film, especially. You know, you got to make sure that you have good sound. Otherwise, it can kind of ruin things. So I was like, man, where am I going to do this? And then we were like, hey, like, why don't we do it in this hallway? And only where the bathrooms are. And then we're just like, well, we hope no one comes to use the bathroom, right? So we're like, okay, we set up the tripod. We get my camera going. And, like, I make sure to connect the microphone. And then I have Jose. He goes, who is also part of youth media. He goes and scouts like a few youth to go interview. And I'm like, okay, I have the questions ready, and I kind of know how to do this. Not really sure, but you know, I'm willing to try. And that's how I ended up making the documentary and stuff. And I've been editing it for a few months now, so I'm happy that I was really excited because it was the first time we showcased that to the Moikumaloning people, and I was really nervous about it releasing because, you know, it's like, man, this is their people like being interviewed, you know. I want to make sure that it was good and that, you know, they feel like they were represented well enough. So yeah, it was really nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it sounds like the youth media program really helped instill some confidence in you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always good to practice that, especially like you were saying that because you were able to have like more free reign of what you were shooting, your pictures that you were taking, how you were taking them, the lighting, and all those artistic choices. And they were kind of there to kind of empower you and kind of learn what your voice is and things that you need. So I think that's really awesome to hear. I was fascinated when I heard about the youth media program, and I was like, I wonder what that looks like. I wonder what they're doing. So it's kind of cool to get that little insight. And do you know if they're going to continue with the youth media program?
Oh, we've been talking about it. I don't know for sure, but we for sure have been talking about it. I think we should, because I think that, you know, media is the future, you know, digital media. I feel like that is the future, and it's really a tool to spread awareness and to spread information, and honestly spread like art and, you know, cultural pride, you know. There's so much stuff happening right now, but it's a really good tool to use to try to empower a community. So I think for sure that we should continue. I don't know for sure if we will, but I know, fingers crossed, because I was like, dude, we should do that again. Like, sign me up. I will be there. But I hope we do.
Nice. Me too. I want to like see more artwork from, you know, the youth, because I mean, the youth are the future. You're the future. If you could go back in time, what do you wish that you could have done differently, maybe with the documentary or just in general with things that you've shot recently?
Let's see. With documentary, I kind of this is me nitpicking, but there was like a peacock really screaming during the interview, and I really wanted to like have an audio where like there wasn't that, so maybe have better mics. But other than that, like I don't know what I would have done differently. Honestly, I feel like it worked out really well. We got a diverse range of youth. We got there was like 4 people. We got a girl. We got someone who was queer. So I was really happy about that. I found that out after we shot it, but we got someone who was queer, and then we got like someone younger. So it was, and then we got like a boy, right? We got a diverse range of youth, and I feel like it was a really good mix because they all had really valuable things to bring to the table. So I'm really happy about that. If I could do different, maybe interview more. But honestly, for the length of the video, I feel like it's perfect. You know, I feel like it worked out the way it was supposed to. In the interview, in the editing process, I don't think I would have done anything differently. Actually, wait, no, scratch that. I would have gotten more B-roll footage. Because I was really scratchy for B-roll footage after. I didn't, so I was interviewing them, right? But people were still dancing outside. So I didn't get to go outside and film them dancing. I only got them after they were done, right? So I kind of wish that I had gone out there and then filmed them dancing and then came and interviewed them. But, you know, it worked out. So I'm not it's just me nitpicking at it, the process and stuff like that, and trying to envision like how I would do things different in the future if I were to do a similar process again. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And then with recent projects, I don't know. I like the you live and you learn process, you know, there's like every experience is an opportunity to teach you something. Like I've worked on projects where I'm like, wow, the audio could have been so much better if I had just done something else. But, you know, for the next project, I'll know better, you know? And then for another project, maybe my editing needs to be shorter, you know? Because sometimes I make longer projects that shouldn't be as long, and I need to be like more clean cut with my editing and make it flow better. So for the next one, you know, I'll try to do that, you know, just trying to constantly set like a bar for myself to help pace myself and how my growth works out. But yeah, it's pretty much.
That's good. But like you said, you live and you learn. So the next, like, whatever mistakes you may or may not have made in the past, it's a learning tool for the next project. So that's good. And for folks who don't understand what the term B-roll is, can you explain?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it totally does. Oh my gosh. B-roll footage is so when you have when you're filming a documentary style video, right? You want to have your A-roll and your B-roll. Your A-roll is going to be like who you're interviewing. That's going to be probably the most dominant footage that we see, and it's going to be of the people who are talking. But then you don't want to see people talking the whole time because the video gets boring. Not that they're boring, but hearing people talk, like the human attention span only lasts so long, like a few seconds when watching a documentary like that. The best documentaries that you see have a good flow of both, of when people are talking and you see them when they're making the most impactful, like when they're saying the most impactful things, but then it goes to a video clip that kind of matches the mood or matches up to what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what B-roll footage is. B-roll is the footage that is kind of like, I don't want to say the backup footage because it's not backup footage, but it's kind of the footage that's going to help make the video flow a lot better and gives a lot more room for artistic expression. Like in my video, I'm interviewing the youth, and then I'm going to the dancers, like when they're dancing, you know, you see them dancing, and it makes the video flow a lot better, and it sets the mood for what they're talking about, and you can visualize what they're talking about because you can see it. So that's kind of what B-roll footage is.
Awesome. Thank you. I was like, excuse me?
Sorry.
I'm familiar-ish with it, but I'm like, I better ask expert. So let's see. What difference has participating in IHC programming made in your life?
I think it's made a huge difference, honestly. In my life, I've dealt with a lot of things. I've struggled a lot, like with my family, and like, you know, we've had a lot of financial struggles. Like we've had a lot of situations where, you know, we didn't know we were going to stay next, and you know, as sad as I am to have experienced that, like my outlets were school and the Indian Health Center, right? Because I feel like I didn't have a lot of control in things in my life, and sometimes I still feel like that, you know, like it's weird because humans want so much control of things, you know, but we don't really have control of a lot of things. We only have control of the way we feel, you know, the actions we take, and like the mistakes we choose to make, right? And so I didn't feel like I had a lot of control of a lot of things, and it made me a really anxious child. And my outlets for school, because I feel like if I can control one thing, it's like my education, right? And then how I choose to view myself. That's something else I felt like I could control at the time. So I tried out youth group, and I was really nervous, but I love meeting new people. So I wasn't, you know, like scared. I was just more nervous about like, you know, like about what, like just the anticipation, you know. And the Indian Health Center just really helped me ground myself. I feel like I wouldn't be the person I am today if it hadn't been for the Indian Health Center, because they have so many resources for youth, and they have so many programs for youth to be a part of. Like the youth group really kind of shaped who I was. You know, I would look forward to going every week, and it made me realize how important my identity is. You know, it's not just a checkbox in the ethnic part of a government form. It's like my identity. It's part of who I am, and like how I choose to perceive myself and how I perceive myself to others. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's a part of me, you know? And, you know, something that really stuck with me was actually something Kitsali said. She's from youth media. we were like in the bathroom, and I was trying to fix my grandpa's bandana, right? I'm Yurok. I probably should have said that at the beginning. I'm Yurok Indian, and Yurok is like in Northern California near the Klamath River and stuff like that. I'm Yurok Indian, and my grandpa, he's Yurok, and he's lived on the tribe, and did a lot of beadwork and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I can't talk to him. He's currently incarcerated right now, so all the interactions I've had with him have been over the phone. So I've been trying to get to know my culture better, my tribe better, and I'm trying to introduce myself to that. But it's kind of been difficult. But my grandpa, he left my mom with this box of things that are from the res, and in it, and it are like his beadwork. He had like his bald eagle head in there, that he got from the reservation, and he had a few bandanas in there, and I wore one of those bandanas to Mexica New Year because I'm like I don't know, I just really wanted to wear it, because I feel like I don't ever get to represent myself, and I hardly meet anyone else who's Yurok, so I'm kind of out there representing my own, and I feel like I hardly even know like what that even means, but I'm trying. So we were in the bathroom and I was trying to fix my bandana and stuff like that, and I don't remember what I said, but I said something like talking down on myself, right? Because I've struggled a lot with like having confidence in myself. It was something about my face, right? And Kitsale, she told me, don't say anything like that about your face. Your face, it's the face of your ancestors, right? The face of your ancestors, those who have come before you, and they gave you the face that you have today. So don't say that you're ugly, because not to tell me what to do, obviously, but not to tell me what to do, but you need to appreciate this because it's the face of your ancestors, and without them, you wouldn't look like the way you do today. And that really stuck with me. And I've been really hard on myself, but that stuck with me. And now, when I think that, I'm just like, no, this is the face of my ancestors. I have nothing to be ashamed for. I don't want to feel any more shame about looking the way I do, or feeling the way I do. And yeah, that really stuck with me.
I'm glad that Kitsale was that person, that voice to kind of make sure that, hey, don't talk down on yourself. Not to tell you what to do, because you could do whatever you want, girl. It's your life. Do you? But at the same time, just to make sure that we don't, talk down on ourselves, because our worst critic is always ourselves, especially as an artist, an artiste. We tend to, critique our work a lot more. My media of choice is acrylic painting.
I respect.
Come on,
I could
paint.
Never.
And acrylic dries really fast, so it's do or die. Either that or watercolor. And watercolor, they just mix super quick. And then other times I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But I'm trying to remember that, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And maybe there's a beholder that thinks it looks amazing, but myself beholding my artwork, it looks a little weird.
Yeah, we're really hard on ourselves,
Yeah, so it's nice that Kitsale was there to pull you back and kind of remind you.
She probably named me too. She's probably like, oh, I don't even remember saying that.
she was that little, gave you that little nugget of wisdom, and she's probably maybe not a big moment for her, but it was a core memory for you. So that's awesome. And also maybe down the line, you'll be able to instill that little nugget of wisdom for other folks, maybe not appreciating, the way that they look, and not finding, finding that, and for themselves, beholding themselves, they're like, oh, I'm kind of ugly. I don't know. Or I wish my face looked like this, different things. So hopefully you can share that and make an impact in someone else too. Tell me about a time that you had to overcome an obstacle and what that took. Unless you have no obstacles and you're just 100% amazing.
No, girl, my time is which one do I choose? There's a lot. Let me see, which one will I talk about? Well, actually, there's one I'll talk about. It's kind of deep though. Trigger warning. A lot of mental health stuff. When I was 12, my stepdad, he lives in Mexico. He got deported when I was 8, and we used to move back and forth sometimes. So sometimes I'd be spending the school year over there, and sometimes I would come back and spend over here. I was born here though, so we would go back and forth. And when I was 12 years old, we were kind of struggling, and my mom was feeling really lonely, so we ended up going back to Mexico. And you know, as much as I like to see her happy and stuff, I did not enjoy Mexico. You know, not to say anything bad about Mexico. Like, Mexico's not the problem, but I faced a lot of racism over there. We lived in a small village, and I went to school over there, and you know, kids, they would like bully me and stuff like that. And you know, now I talk about it, like sometimes I'm just like, man, such a small part of my life now. But back then, it really like hurt me, you know, and I really struggled with my mental health back then. I was really lonely, and I wasn't going to school anymore because the bullying was getting really bad. You know, people were calling me names, and I'm queer. So I liked someone, and it didn't really go well because, you know, they found out, and like people started bullying me about it, and you know, like things got really weird, and I stopped going to school, and I felt kind of hopeless, you know. And you know, maybe it sounds silly because it's like you know, a child is going through this, but like I felt a lot of those things really hard. Like, you know, I felt like really ashamed of who I was, and I felt like this, like I felt really helpless, you know, like I didn't know how to help myself and how to overcome this. You know, I was like, well, if I don't go back to the States, you know, like go to college, because my priority and throughout my life has always been to go to college, because that is like the biggest thing for me. I'm a first generation student, and I'm a woman, so it's meant a lot for me to go to college, because I've always felt like I was meant for more. You know, like I had, like, not that like, you know, I had like this big destiny, but I've always felt like, you know, my life couldn't just be like going to a 9 to 5 and then going home and then watching TV and then waking up and doing it all over again. I feel like I was meant for more than that. Like I love to learn, and I like to push my limits, and I feel like I'm meant to go for more than that. So feeling stuck there really got to me, and it was really hard for me. But when I stopped going to school, I would often like stay up late at night, and I would read, or I started watching like movies on Netflix. This was like when Netflix was like, you know, becoming a thing and an app and everything. And I was really into all the movies I was watching. You know, there's a lot of movies that really touched me, and I was like, dude, like, man, like if I go back, like I want to be able to do stuff like that, like make movies and like really move people, you know. And I got so like into these movies and stuff like that, and they gave me hope, and they inspired me, and like all these books. Like I had a huge imagination, and I still do. I have like a huge imagination, so I started coming up with like stories about, you know, people who also overcome a lot of struggles and kind of deal with like the same. Like I was projecting a lot, you know, like I'm gonna write about these people who like are really good people, but you know, some bad things happen to them. How are they gonna deal with it? You know, like, and I'm gonna try to figure out how they can overcome that. And then I would listen to music. I listened to so much music when I was over there, and like art really gave me hope when I was really going through it. And when I really felt alone and like I wasn't motivated to do anything with myself. And eventually we came back to the States, and it felt like I was holding on for a long time though. And it didn't really feel like I had much to look forward to. I felt really trapped, you know, like I was in a small town. All these people were like talking about me. Everyone thought I was weird, you know, even like my parents thought I was being like super dramatic, but for me, like I felt like I was kind of drowning in like my own issues, and I was learning how to deal with that. But like eventually I just started thinking to myself, well, like, man, like, you know, when I get back, I'm not going to take it for granted. You know, I'm going to try to do the best I can do to like get wherever I need to go, because, you know, this will never be enough for me. I need to keep pushing myself and seeing like how far I can go, because, you know, like I love life. Life is so beautiful. Like to go outside and to appreciate trees. I love trees. To breathe in the air outside, and to like listen to music and go on a walk. Like I love experiencing things, and like I love new experiences, and like doing things that scare me, but like in a good way, that are healthy risks, you know. So that was kind of a struggle that I overcame, you know, trying to figure out, you know, 12 years old is like a really hard time in your life to go through something like that. You know, there's a lot of like self-confidence issues, a lot of like understanding your place in the world. So that was my biggest like thing that I feel like that really shaped who I am today. Because without that time, I don't feel like I would be the creative the creative person or have the courage to be the creative person I am today, you know, without having lost like control of things like that. I feel like I wouldn't have understood of how to vision myself, you know?
Yeah, it was like a blessing in disguise. But I'm pretty sure if you were to talk to 12-year-old Ari, she'd be like, excuse me, this is not a blessing. This is terrible. I'm over it. Please let me go back home.
Yeah, no, like, I love thinking about, like, future me, you know? I think people need to focus more on that, you know? Like, who do you want future you to be? Like, if you could talk to future you know, what would you ask them? You know? Because that person is going to be you.
Yeah.
So who do you want to be?
For me, I want to be a grandma. People are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, I want to be a nana with like little grandkids.
Aww.
So I'll get there eventually in like 50 years. But yeah, that's my goal.
That's so funny.
I have a very simple goal. But I love that. And I like that you, even though it was a hard time, that you use that and now it's become part of who you are now. And you, maybe like it wasn't like the best thing to have gone through or it was, you know, difficult, but you grew stronger from that. And it's cliche. It's like you grow stronger through hard times.
But it's true. It's like
it's a cliche
for a reason.
Yes. And we're on the same wavelength. I love that. And then do you have a time so what do you feel like is next for you?
Next for me? Well, if I could get through the semester, I'm just kidding. What's next for me? I just want to like do more art stuff, you know? I'm tired of like holding back, you know? I feel like I've been so caught up in like GE courses and like all this stuff that has nothing to do with what I want to do, but I need to have patience because I have to get through it to get my degree right now. But I just want to get more experience and meet more people. You know, I've met so many people doing film and I like that. And I want to keep seeing where that's going to take me. So right now, I really want to transfer. I'm trying to work in transferring to university and trying to figure out, you know, where that's going to be. You know, applied to my UCs last week, and then applied to the some USCs. USCs. I was getting USCs and CSCs mixed up, but USCs, and then apply to CSU and see what happens. You know, but not with like a lot of expectations of like, you know, like it's my way or the highway, but trying to see like, you know, I have faith that, you know, things work out how they're supposed to. Like, not that, you know, that there's a plan for things, but that, you know, like you're here, you know, whatever's happening is going to happen and you will find a way to adapt. So I think that whatever happens, I'll find a way to adapt, but I want to keep pushing myself and like my art potential and seeing how much more I can do, how many people I can meet and like how many people I can touch or even how many people I can help, you know, make their projects become a huge thing, you know? I just want to keep seeing where that goes because, you know, art is constantly developing and that's what I want to be. I want to be constantly developing, constantly changing, and constantly growing, constantly having a goal for myself, you know? Because I feel like work is never done. There's always more to be done. Yeah,
and just when you think you're done with something, you're like, oh, you know, the human brain is a beautiful thing. We have all these wants, needs, and to-do lists. So that's been fun. For aspiring filmmakers and videographers, what resources do you recommend?
YouTube.
I
recommend YouTube. Yes. Oh my gosh. If you are trying to be a filmmaker or like anything, a videographer, and you don't watch YouTube, you are not doing it right. You need to go to YouTube. And I don't mean just like, you know, watching YouTubers and like watching, which is still helpful because you watch people. I like watching things and seeing the format of it, you know, because I'm the best learner by watching. And so when I see things and how they're done, I try to replicate that, but then also push myself to have my own artistic take on it, you know, because I feel like that's the best way people learn, you know, it's like by watching, you know, or by doing. So I would say YouTube because YouTube helped me a lot with video editing, trying to figure out how to work my camera because I when I bought my camera that I turned to YouTube and YouTube helped me a lot. You know, YouTube helps. There's so many resources now online and the internet. You know, if you don't know what you're doing or you don't know what you should be doing, look it up and like there'll be people who will give you advice and like a lot of people who give informational advice. Excuse me. A lot of people who give informational advice and know what they're doing and are experienced and are willing to share that experience, you know? Or, you know, watch your favorite YouTubers, you know? Like, I love watching Smosh. You know, just trying to see, like, you know, what, you know, like the editing style sometimes, or like watching my favorite movie, you know? Just keep trying to process and consume, and then eventually, like, you will feel like you're ready, you know? And then also go on like social media and start like getting in touch with the videographers on Instagram and on Facebook, because I'm not super experienced with Facebook, but on Instagram, I've met so many people on Instagram who are not even like from America, or who are from America, who are videographers and have helped me so much. Shout out to I'm trying to remember her Instagram tag. Oh, Bokeh Media. My friend, her name is Layla, and she helps me so much because I met her on Instagram. You know, I'm like going through Reels now. Instagram has Reels, and I saw this video and I was like, whoa, like, I love the way like they did this, you know? Don't be afraid to like reach out to people. If you like their work, like, you know, there's such a competitive atmosphere now, and I feel like it's really toxic, you know? Because even though it's nice to be competitive with people, we should not be constantly competing. We should be learning from each other and building each other up. Because of course, like, the work environment is competitive, but we need to, like, if you really like someone's work, ask them about it. And, like, be like, how did you get here? You know, not only will it humble you, but it'll help you, and it'll help you become like better at what you do, because then you'll see your weaknesses. And so I reached out to this person. And I'm like, hey, I really liked like the way you edited this video. It's like a short video too. It's
fangirling.
Really, really nice bokeh, which is like the blur in the video, like, you know, when you see the circles of lights. I really liked it, and I was like, hey, I really like what you did in this video. What kind of camera do you use? Because at the time I was looking for a camera and trying to figure out, you know, how I was going to get this whole film thing started for myself in my freshman year of college. And Layla eventually like answered me and like helped me pick out a camera and like helped me pick out the right lenses to choose. And now like she still helps me. Sometimes I'll be booking clients and I'll be like, hey dude, how do you make this contract? Like, how do I do this? And, you know, she helps me. She lives in Canada. She lives in Saskatoon. And I met her online, and like we're really good friends, you know, like she helps me out a lot and stuff like that. And like she's seen me grown a lot in the past year as a photographer and as a videographer. So it's been really nice to meet people like that. And I feel like people shouldn't be afraid to reach out like that on social media, you know?
Well, the message today is slide in the DMs.
Yes.
Do not be ashamed. You know, if it's somebody if it's in a realm that you're passionate about learning, you know, find a mentor or something.
Yeah,
I really like that. And they didn't gatekeep, and I hope in the future you do not gatekeep when someone reaches out to you, because they'll like the way that you shoot and you'll help them figure out their camera. So, you know, just keep paying it forward with that knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. That too. It's like if someone reaches out to you and they're like, hey, like, I really like what you do, like, have patience with them, you know? Like, you were also in that position once.
Yeah.
You know, so many people, like, they lose it. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for you.
Yeah, leave me alone.
No, exactly. Or like, you know, you can never be as good as me. It's like, you gotta get rid of that mindset. You gotta help each other. You know, if someone comes to you like that and they want advice, it's like, take the time and give them the advice, you know, because you don't know what kind of impact it'll make.
Yeah, and you don't know how far that person's going to go with the knowledge that you give them, and maybe one day they're going to be giving you a handout.
Yeah, maybe they'll be the next Greta Gerwig or Christopher Nolan, you know? You never know.
That's awesome. Do you feel like there's something that you'd like to add, or like a message that you'd like to convey to other youth in our community and beyond?
Get to know yourself, you know? I think the pandemic was super helpful in people getting to know themselves, because it kind of forced you to get away from like socially toxic atmospheres, except Twitter. Oh my gosh. Twitter got more toxic during the pandemic, but I think getting to know yourself, you know, the pandemic gave a chance, especially for me, like that was a whole nother obstacle, but you know, it gave me a chance to get to know myself and like not having to worry about going to school and try to like, you know, impress people. I think that nowadays people are a little caught up in trying to impress each other, and like they're so caught up in like the trends and like what's new that they're not really like thinking about who they are, you know, and they're out of touch with that. So I think being comfortable with yourself, you know, being comfortable with who you are, like what are your needs, like what do you need, and what do you desire, where do you see yourself? And you know, these can be like jarring questions, but they also don't have to be. You know, it depends on how you approach it. It's like, if they're drawing questions, then maybe you're not comfortable with yourself, and you need to learn how to be comfortable with yourself, because that's the most helpful thing that has happened to me. Is like, I feel like I have become more comfortable with myself, and that's why I feel like I can do this, you know, that I can keep, you know, trying to push myself further into art and stuff like that. And yeah, like, I feel like sometimes I struggle with confidence issues and how I view myself, and like whether my art is worth anything, you know. It's like every artist goes through that, but you need to be comfortable with yourself and with who you are. And for some people that takes a long time, but if you can, like, start today. If you're a youth, you need to start today, because the more comfortable you become with yourself, the less you are going to be susceptible to peer pressure, or to other people trying to tell you what to do, or other people trying to put you down, you know. You don't have to listen to that, and just trust yourself, you know. So that's my message, is like, be comfortable with yourself, you know. Art is all about expression, and you can only authentically express yourself if you're comfortable with yourself, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then another thing to like remember is our selves, our, you know, the way that we are in this world changes, and then we gotta get re-comfortable with yourself in like
exactly.
10 years, because maybe something starts to crack when you sit down. You know, things are popping when they shouldn't be popping.
White hair starts blooming.
Yeah, and we gotta continue to get comfortable.
You gotta get comfortable with change, you know. Like, I see so many people, like, you know, not to like, you know, like, hate or anything, but I see people, like, you know, putting themselves down because they feel old, you know, or because, you know, they're like, man, my birthday, it's like just a burden because now I'm old. It's like, dude, like, why is that a bad thing? It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's like, you just gotta be more comfortable with yourself. Like, I'm gonna be 20 soon, and all my friends are freaking out because, you know, we're gonna be 20. It's like, now we're really adults. Like, ooh. But I'm not scared. You know, I feel like I'm comfortable with myself, and I know where I want to go. Or, you know, I don't even know where I want to go right now, but I know what I like to do, and I know what makes me happy, and what I feel like drives me, because I'm comfortable with myself enough to be in touch with that part of myself, you know, with that expressive part of myself. So just being comfortable with yourself is the most important thing, because then you become comfortable with change. You can become comfortable with how you adapt to things.
Awesome. Thank you.